Have you ever thought about what happens when someone who was once a central figure in your life suddenly disappears? Imagine the quiet that follows: no calls, no messages, no interactions. What fills the space they leave behind? Is it sadness, confusion, or something else entirely? What if that void wasn't just a loss, but a profound opportunity for transformation? What if the absence you feel so deeply is actually a hidden gift, waiting to teach you resilience, independence, and clarity about who you truly are? Today on Krathen, we're diving into the transformative power of absence through the lens of Stoicism. We'll explore how rejection, anxiety, and self-reflection can be tools for personal growth through real-life examples, including stories of some of the world's most influential figures. You'll see how loss can shape us into stronger, more self-aware individuals. This journey might challenge the way you see your relationships and yourself. So, if you've ever felt lost in the wake of someone's departure, stay with me. You might just discover that their absence is the catalyst for your greatest growth. The invisible gift of absence. Absence often feels like a loss. When someone important steps out of your life, it leaves an undeniable void, an ache that disrupts your stability. But what if this emptiness isn't simply a loss? What if it is an opportunity, a hidden gift? Consider Emma's story. She shared everything with her best friend, a bond so close that her identity intertwined with theirs. When that friend stopped responding without explanation, Emma spiraled into confusion and self-doubt. But as weeks turned into months, something shifted. Without her friend's constant presence, Emma began to explore who she was as an individual. She picked up painting, a hobby she had abandoned, and even traveled alone, finding solace in solitude. Absence pushed Emma into a space where she had no choice but to rediscover herself. This mirrors Stoic teachings. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Absence forces us to focus not on what has been taken away, but on what remains and what can grow in its place. Much like Emma, influential figures like Oprah Winfrey have spoken about the transformative power of solitude. Winfrey often reflects on how stepping away from people who no longer served her well-being allowed her to deepen her understanding of herself and her purpose. The pain of absence became a catalyst for personal and spiritual growth. Rejection, the sting that fuels growth. Rejection is perhaps one of the sharpest pains we experience. When someone disappears, it feels deeply personal, as if it is a condemnation of who we are. But is rejection really about us? Or is it an unavoidable part of life that can drive us toward growth? Take the story of Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. Early in his career, Bezos pitched ideas that were rejected repeatedly. Yet, instead of internalizing those rejections as failures, he leaned into a Stoic mindset, focusing on what he could control: his vision, determination, and work ethic. Over time, his persistence paid off, turning Amazon into one of the most successful companies in history. Similarly, Tony, an ordinary man, faced rejection after being passed over for a promotion he had worked tirelessly to earn. The sting was undeniable, but Tony chose not to let the decision define him. Instead, he reevaluated his career goals and found a role that better matched his strengths, ultimately thriving in ways he hadn't imagined. Stoicism teaches us to detach our self-worth from external validation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." By adhering to our virtues and staying true to our values, we can transform rejection into a powerful motivator. Both Bezos and Tony embody this principle, using rejection not as a roadblock but as a springboard toward something greater. The trap of curiosity. When someone vanishes without explanation, our minds race to fill the gaps. Why did they leave? What are they doing? Did I do something wrong? Curiosity is a natural reaction to uncertainty, but it can quickly become a destructive force if left unchecked. For Sarah, the abrupt end of a relationship left her consumed by questions. She spent hours on social media trying to piece together her ex-partner's life, replayed every conversation in her mind, and scrutinized her every action. But none of this brought her closure. Instead, it trapped her in a cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. Stoicism offers a different perspective. Seneca advised, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality," rather than chasing answers that may never come. Stoicism encourages us to redirect curiosity inward. Instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" Sarah began asking, "What does this teach me about myself?" Through journaling, therapy, and honest self-reflection, she found clarity and peace. Even powerful figures like Michelle Obama exemplify this shift. In her book Becoming, she recounts moments of doubt during her transition from a lawyer to the First Lady. Instead of being consumed by the noise around her, she focused on understanding her own desires and values, channeling her energy toward personal growth rather than external validation. Curiosity is not inherently bad, but it must be harnessed. When directed inward, it becomes a tool for self-discovery rather than a trap for unnecessary suffering. Self-reflection, the mirror of absence. Absence serves as a mirror, forcing us to confront ourselves in ways we might avoid when surrounded by others. It is in these moments of solitude that we ask the hard questions: who am I without this person? What role did I play in their departure? Consider the case of Elon Musk. Known for his relentless drive, Musk has faced public and personal setbacks, from failed rockets to challenging divorces. Instead of avoiding responsibility, he often takes a brutally honest look at his own actions and decisions. This self-reflection not only informs his next steps, but also strengthens his resolve. Michael's story follows a similar arc. After a painful breakup, his first instinct was to blame his partner entirely. But as he reflected, he realized how much of his happiness he had tied to her presence. This dependence had strained their relationship, contributing to its eventual collapse. By recognizing his own patterns, Michael began rebuilding his life around self-sufficiency rather than attachment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Self-reflection, when approached with honesty and accountability, becomes the cornerstone of growth. Leaders like Musk and everyday individuals like Michael show us that facing the mirror, though uncomfortable, leads to clarity and strength. Independence, finding strength within. Independence is not about cutting people out of your life. It is about developing the emotional resilience to stand tall, even when the ground beneath you shifts. Take the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a pioneer for gender equality and a Supreme Court justice. Ginsburg faced numerous professional and personal challenges, including the loss of her beloved husband. Yet, through it all, she remained steadfast, relying on her inner strength and commitment to justice to navigate life's difficulties. Similarly, Anna discovered her independence when her closest friend moved away. What began as a period of loneliness became a time of exploration. She learned to enjoy her own company, picking up forgotten hobbies and making new connections. Independence gave her the freedom to live authentically, without relying on anyone else for happiness. Stoicism places immense value on this kind of self-sufficiency. Seneca wrote, "A happy life is one which is in accordance with its own nature." Independence does not mean isolation, it means creating a life so rich and fulfilling that relationships enhance it rather than define it. The weight of anxiety. Anxiety often creeps in when we lose control. When someone disappears from our lives, it stirs uncertainty, making us question not only the relationship but also ourselves. Barack Obama faced immense anxiety during his presidency, particularly in moments of crisis. He has spoken about how he managed these pressures by focusing on what he could control, staying informed, trusting his team, and making decisions based on values rather than fear. David's experience echoes this. After losing his job unexpectedly, his anxiety spiraled. But instead of letting it paralyze him, he turned to action. He updated his resume, networked, and developed new skills. Each small step chipped away at his anxiety, replacing fear with confidence. Stoicism teaches us to meet anxiety with mindfulness and courage. As Epictetus said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them. By focusing on the present and what can be controlled, we transform anxiety into a motivator for positive change. Self-reflection, the mirror of absence. When someone leaves your life, it forces a reckoning. It's as though a mirror is suddenly held up to your soul, revealing truths that might otherwise remain hidden. Questions arise. Who am I without this person? How did our relationship define me? What role did I play in their departure? Michael's story is a poignant example. After his breakup, he initially blamed his ex entirely. The anger and disappointment consumed him. But as time passed, he started to reflect. He realized that his dependence on his partner had strained their relationship. He had unknowingly placed the responsibility for his happiness on someone else, creating an imbalance neither of them could sustain. This realization was painful but liberating. It allowed Michael to shift his focus inward. He began to cultivate a fulfilling life on his own, rediscovering old passions and developing new ones. This process is echoed in the life of Steve Jobs. When Jobs was ousted from Apple in 1985, he could have drowned in resentment or self-pity. Instead, he used the time away from Apple as an opportunity for deep self-reflection. Jobs founded Next and acquired Pixar, ventures that would later redefine his career and legacy. His ability to look inward and learn from his failures became the cornerstone of his triumphant return to Apple, where he introduced some of the most groundbreaking innovations of the 21st century. Stoicism underscores that self-reflection is not about assigning blame, it's about growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This ethos encourages us to view absence not as a loss but as a teacher. It challenges us to critically examine our own actions, behaviors, and patterns, paving the way for resilience and self-awareness. Independence, finding strength within. Independence isn't synonymous with solitude. It's about knowing you can stand strong, even when the external support systems you relied on are no longer there. It's the inner strength that allows you to adapt and thrive regardless of life's unpredictability. Anna's story exemplifies this beautifully. When her closest friend moved abroad, Anna felt adrift. Their daily conversations had been a source of comfort and stability. Initially, she struggled to adjust, feeling the void acutely. But over time, Anna began to reconnect with herself. She picked up hobbies she had neglected, painting, hiking, volunteering, and discovered how fulfilling her own company could be. Independence didn't mean shutting people out, it meant enriching her life in ways that didn't depend on others. A striking example of independence can be seen in Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life. As a Supreme Court justice, Ginsburg faced enormous challenges, including the loss of her husband, Marty, during her tenure. Despite her grief, she remained steadfast in her work, championing gender equality and justice. Ginsburg's independence wasn't about isolating herself, it was about drawing strength from her inner resilience and her commitment to her values. Stoicism values this form of self-sufficiency. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Independence in the Stoic sense isn't about rejecting connections, it's about ensuring your inner stability so that relationships complement your life rather than define it. It's about cultivating a steady inner foundation, one that stands firm no matter who comes or goes. The weight of anxiety. Anxiety is a familiar companion in moments of absence. When someone leaves, uncertainty rushes in, filling the void with fear. Doubts creep in. Am I good enough? What does this mean for my future? Anxiety can feel all-consuming, but it also holds a lesson. David faced this when he lost his job unexpectedly. The weight of uncertainty was overwhelming. How would he pay his bills? What if he couldn't find another job? But instead of letting anxiety paralyze him, David turned to action. He began with what he could control, updating his resume, reaching out to his network, and creating a strict budget. These small, deliberate steps gave him a sense of agency. Each day, as he chipped away at the unknown, his anxiety lessened. Eventually, he found a new job, one better aligned with his skills and passions. Barack Obama offers a high-profile example of managing anxiety under immense pressure. During the global financial crisis of 2008, Obama faced unprecedented uncertainty as he navigated the U.S. economy through uncharted waters. The stakes were enormous, and the weight of responsibility could have been paralyzing. But Obama leaned on Stoic principles, focusing on what he could control, gathering the best advice, making informed decisions, and taking action with a steady hand. His ability to remain calm under pressure became a hallmark of his leadership. Stoicism offers tools to confront anxiety. Epictetus taught, "Men are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." Anxiety often stems from our desire to control the uncontrollable. By shifting focus to what we can influence, we reclaim power over our emotional state. Mindfulness, a practice integral to Stoicism, helps anchor us in the present, reducing the burden of imagined futures. Anxiety, when met with courage and action, transforms from a shadow into a motivator, propelling us forward with clarity and purpose. Gratitude amid loss. Absence has a profound way of revealing the things we once overlooked. When someone departs, their absence highlights the void they leave behind, often shining a light on their contributions to our lives in ways we never fully appreciated. This clarity, while painful, is an invitation to reflect on gratitude. Claire's story illustrates this beautifully. She and her sister had always been close, but like many siblings, Claire had taken their bond for granted. Late-night talks, shared laughter, and even the occasional disagreement had woven into the fabric of her daily life. When they stopped speaking due to an argument, Claire suddenly felt the weight of that loss. In her sister's absence, Claire realized how deeply those conversations had shaped her perspective and offered her comfort. This newfound awareness prompted her to reach out to others she valued, expressing her appreciation openly and fostering stronger connections. In a larger context, consider Nelson Mandela's 27 years of imprisonment. During this time, he was stripped of his freedom, family, and even basic comforts. Yet, Mandela often spoke of how his isolation deepened his gratitude for the small joys of life, a sunrise, a kind word, or the enduring love of his supporters. He emerged from prison not bitter but profoundly thankful, using his experience to inspire reconciliation and unity in post-apartheid South Africa. Stoic philosophy aligns closely with these lessons. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending loss doesn't exist. Instead, It's about finding the good amidst the pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. To think. To enjoy. To love." Absence doesn't diminish the value of what once was, it amplifies it, encouraging us to hold closer to the people and experiences that remain. Redefining your values. When someone leaves your life, it creates a natural pause, a moment to re-examine what truly matters. This disruption forces us to confront questions we might otherwise avoid. What do we value in our relationships? Are our actions aligned with those values? Absence, in this sense, becomes a compass, steering us back toward what's essential. John's experience reflects this shift. His mentor, a guiding figure in his career, retired unexpectedly. The sudden absence left John feeling unmoored, questioning how to move forward without his mentor's support. But as the days passed, John began to reflect on the lessons his mentor had imparted. He realized that the greatest gift wasn't the guidance itself, but the inspiration to think critically and act decisively. With this realization, John began mentoring others, passing on the wisdom he had gained. This same pattern emerges in the story of Melinda French Gates. After her high-profile divorce from Bill Gates, Melinda used the absence of their partnership as an opportunity to redefine her own values and mission. She reflected deeply on her priorities, choosing to focus her energy on gender equality and women's empowerment through her foundation. Her ability to realign with her values in the wake of personal change has inspired millions. Stoic philosophy calls us to live in harmony with our values, even in times of upheaval. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." When someone departs from our lives, it's an opportunity to reflect on whether our time, energy, and relationships truly align with our principles. It allows us to recalibrate, ensuring that our actions reflect what we hold most dear. Absence also challenges us to move beyond superficial connections. Are we surrounding ourselves with people who align with our values? Or are we holding on to relationships out of habit or fear of change? This process isn't easy. It requires honesty and sometimes painful decisions. But as absence creates space, it also provides clarity, helping us to build deeper, more meaningful connections. In essence, absence becomes a mirror for our priorities. It forces us to ask difficult questions and make choices that align more closely with who we want to be. Whether it's the loss of a mentor, the end of a partnership, or even the passing of a loved one, these moments of disruption can guide us back to our core values, helping us lead lives of greater integrity and purpose. What if the moments you've spent dwelling on someone's absence were actually opportunities to discover your own strength? Through Stoicism, we learn that loss isn't just something to endure, it's something to grow through. Every rejection, every goodbye, and every moment of silence holds a lesson. It's in these moments that we find clarity about our values, gratitude for the people who remain, and the courage to move forward with independence and purpose. Think about figures like Nelson Mandela, who found profound strength in isolation, or Steve Jobs, who used his time away from Apple to redefine his legacy. Their stories remind us that absence isn't just an end, it's a beginning. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, what can this absence teach me? How can I use this silence to grow stronger, more resilient, and more in tune with who I am? Thank you for joining me on Krathen today. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Remember, the path to self-discovery starts not in finding answers, but in asking the right questions. Until next time, stay curious, stay strong, and embrace the power of growth.